So what's happening right here is we're speaking to the wind. We are being reciprocal to the wind. We're opening a conversation with the wind, and it is reciprocating its energy back. By giving a blow into the wind, it creates a whistle, and that creates a little bit of a cycle that relates to making a little bit of music because of a cycle that has to do with speaking to nature, and it's speaking back. You blow into the wind, and it touches and grazes your lips in a certain respect, and then it creates music. That's the wind and yourself becoming harmonious in terms of energies and frequencies that you're able to develop from your self. I don't think I should try to switch back to the opera version from last night, but it might make an appearance at a later time anyways. Let's get back to focusing on what the purpose of talking about wind is all about. It's about a reciprocal relationship dynamic that exists within nature, and a certain thing that can become a reciprocal relationship that can become an asset relationship is something that's a little bit unforeseen in the past context in terms of how conceptually that things have occurred in the way that the format of traditional learning has been a process in the past. We're talking about learning. We're talking about teaching. We're talking about teaching as an asset activity. Talking about teaching as an asset activity. Whoa. Oh. So instead of just trying to teach people a skill, in essence, if there's a way to be able to try to close a loop, in essence, if there's a way to be able to try to be reciprocal, like there is the possibility to be reciprocal with nature and the wind and developing a whistle, you get something back from trying to contribute to the wind's process and pipelines and flow of energy flow, and it gives you back something in the form of a whistle, which is obviously not necessarily exactly how that will occur. But for the nature of this podcast, it is meant to be aligned with the purpose of the lesson, which has to do with teaching as a bit of an asset activity, because it has to do with teaching a bit of a collaboration process. In essence, we're talking about teaching collaboration as a skill, teaching collaboration in the art sense as a skill, but also at the same time teaching collaboration in the aspect of learning how to learn from a foundational sense, but at the same time being able to collaborate, and at the same time being able to build synergies and synergistic energies, and giving that skill and giving the opportunity for somebody to be able to acknowledge that skill without knowing that skill existed within them, because all people are necessarily capable of adding puzzle pieces together to add other aspects of mathematics together to be able to develop more mathematics by adding energy together and making an equation of energy and developing synergy with those energies of building those things together like building blocks, in essence, to be able to develop a bigger tower of building blocks. Whoa, yeah. So in essence, in terms of teaching, it can become an asset energy. It can become an asset activity by relaying messages that are asset messages and relaying asset messages that in terms of collaboration add to a collaborative effect between you and the student, and then at the same time a collaborative effect within other people, and then a collaborative effect with alignment that has to do with ultimately the element that has to do with building and growth and compounding growth within spiritual finance. So you have to be able to acknowledge these energies to begin with, and by first acknowledging these energies and then being able to firsthand apply them to a specific business, and a certain alignment of business is an asset energy that has to do with spiritual finance stacking, spiritual finance growth stacking, spiritual finance growth hacking, spiritual finance growth compounding, different energies that are compound interest flows of differing aspects of asset energies. Yeah. So purposefully focusing on teaching of asset energies and also a bit of spiritual finance, but at the same time specific skills that cater to specific industries, and then adding an element of wisdom, of experience, of mentorship to those certain skills adds a certain pipeline for a specific ability to be able to cut through certain avenues of using and leveraging certain skills to be able to get to optimization within certain specific industries, to where sometimes the idea that if student becomes a master, typically sometimes in the past it makes a master feel bad, whereas in this instance, in this podcast, it is actually leveraged as a positive. It's leveraged as an asset. If the student becomes the master, then in essence, the student can therefore develop a process, or the master can develop a mentality or an instance where thereby the master is rewarded in assets. The master is rewarded in equity. The master has developed the equity from ground zero. So therefore, there's almost an owing, a gratitude owing, like something that is owed, like an IOU that is invisible, that's owed in the nature of spiritual finance. It's an IOU that's owed based on the foundational existence of something, based on the non-existence of something before that. It's an energy that was non-existent before that. It's an energy of purpose. It's an energy of principle. It's an energy of foundational poised direction that has to do with drive within the person who was taught a new vehicle of focus that contributes to their direction and their energy flow and their direct use of actions and action application on a day-to-day basis, and that therefore was a foundational origin which was not originally installed from the beginning. So therefore teaching is an asset and can be an asset, and especially in an ideal sense, if the student does become the master, then therefore there's almost like an obligation or not, but somewhat of that, especially if you develop a deal to begin with or not, but through the nature of the whimsy of teaching as well as spiritual finance, this compounding focus, compounding interest, compounding assets through the nature of the whimsy of collaboration teaching, of mindset teaching, of asset energy, of spiritual finance stacking and compounding, in essence through the nature of teaching skills of applications in terms of the development of those muscle memories, is an asset activity that then therefore is due, like an IOU, back to the teacher, especially if you're developing somewhat of a partnership dynamic at the same time as developing a teaching dynamic, because it allows for the ability to be able to practice practical applications in practical marketplaces, in practical processes and marketplaces, to be able to develop real business results and drive real revenue results. And at the same time, there is different directions and different avenues of pipelines of different dividends that come from different ways in different energies, flow, perhaps possibilities, in terms of the way of spiritual finance stacking and compounding, spiritual finance principles stacking and layering, like different layers of a cake or a lasagna, for example, or a cake lasagna if you want to combine them together, so that after all, it's possible to finance spiritual finance stack, to then therefore be able to develop dividend energy that is possible to rechanneling dividend energy is corresponding to and similar to developing a new pipeline known as what I've been calling the global philanthropy energy grid around the whole entire world, by developing this asset energy and this compound interest stacking of energy, of spiritual finance energy, which is invisible energy, which is similar to animals giving appreciation energy to humans spiritually through the essence of the air and communicating through the air, like animal communication in essence. These assets are similar to what spiritual finance assets are when communicated. It's like animal communication. It's transmission of assets through the air in essence, and from this ability to be able to acknowledge these assets, this is what can continue to comprise of and continue to develop and compose the future of the global philanthropy energy grid. The global philanthropy energy grid, where all human beings are guided by and directed by and have the ability to have the gumption to pursue the interest of the element of following through with good deeds as philanthropy energy in the future. Philanthropy energy in the future to be able to guide human beings, to be able to take actions, to be able to develop the future of humanity. Whoa. And this continues to develop ongoing, unfolding dividend energy channeling. Dividend energy channeling is the combination of like something of a witchcraftery mentality where you're channeling different aspects. It's a combination of the global philanthropy energy grid and witchcraft channeling of the conceptualization of continuous unfolding asset energy, where through visualization, it's the essence of focusing on dividend channeling and repurposing all of this energy through the air in a similar fashion to animal communication to human beings, giving asset energy from animal communication through into the medical industry of spiritual health to be able to benefit and better the essence of the betterment of spiritual health for all human beings in the world, connected directly by the supply of animal energy and animal communication through that similar connectivity, through that similar ESP connection, for lack of better words. It's almost like that, in essence, is what dividend channeling is like at the same time, because if you're in a continuous asset state, if you're in a continuous asset energy growth mindset state, then in essence you're trying to unfold and you're trying to unshed assets off your skin, off your body, off your persistence, off your focus, off your actions, off your consistency in terms of being aligned with an asset energy. Yes. And so by repurposing and repurposing the dividend energy that's able to come off of the back end of this continuous asset energy that's continually unfolding asset energy, which is more and more assets, to be able to continue to grow that, which is the nature of growth, which is the nature of love, which is the nature of nature. That's how it unfolds in the nature of massive unfolding extrapolating energy, which is similar to how AI is unfolding. This same fashion is how we want to try to paint the global philanthropy energy grid, is by channeling, similar to channeling like different aspects of energies and spirituality, by channeling this essence of dividend channeling. We're channeling into the mindset of dividends, in essence, where new energy is formed from the back end of asset energy. And as new dividends are made and created, that dividends are constantly reinvested in different directions, what I call games for change, that these dividends are invested into games for change, so that people in the future are able to continue to have fun playing what are repurposed energies from channeling, and rechanneling. Dividend energy to rechannel dividend energy, to be able to continue to rechannel dividend energy, to be able to channel it, similar to a mantra, similar to rechanneling spirits in the spirit world, rechanneling dividend energy to be able to paint the picture into all of the living conceptual vessels, small and big, in this whole globe, to be able to paint the global philanthropy energy grid with dividend energy assets, so that every single animal and every single human being is all painted with new philanthropy energy. And at the same time, as we're painting the ground and the essence of the roots of the globe, of the spirit land, of our promised land, of our existing promised land is what I guess I meant to say, of the future of tomorrow on planet Earth, the actual in real life planet Earth of tomorrow, where we're trying to continue to paint the global philanthropy energy grid by this mindset of channeling and repurposing the essence of dividend energy off the back end of asset energy. That in essence, what we're trying to also focus on is a replanting of the Earth, a replanting of planet Earth, so that in the future, we're able to lay a new bed for continuous growth in the future, where in essence we're able to repurpose our mindsets in the future of future Earth, Earth number 2. We can call it Earth number 2, which I guess corresponds to the era of AI. And there's all these items and tools that are going to unfold from artificial intelligence. But fundamentally, the fundamental material, the fundamental creation material that humans are made of right now, there's a lot of toxicity involved in terms of what's underneath the skin of humans and humanity right now. The actual composition of planet Earth right now is very, very toxic in terms of what aspects and elements of toxicity exist within certain aspects, between the air, between the composition of certain products that are being bought and consumed by people on a consistent basis. But in the Earth 2.0 conceptualization that we're speaking about right this second, has to do with replanting the Earth foundationally, fundamentally, from the seeds, to be able to repurpose the nature of food. Repurpose the nature of food across all of the world, every single person, all 8 billion people in the world, to be able to not only be able to 3D print food like they are starting to be able to 3D print human parts in the meantime, but they're not released yet. We're sort of moving in that direction. But nonetheless, what we're talking about is replanting the Earth's food, replanting the Earth's mentality in the ground at the same time, to be able to regrow a brand new mentality for the future. Whereas, in essence, it's also not necessary to eat animals. It's not even necessarily to eat animals, so we can all be fulfilled by continually being a consistent process where we're able to continue to fulfill ourselves from earthly goods, earthly greens, earthly composition that has to do with cellular processes that are clean, the cleanest earth what we can possibly make. There is a future of technology where all of these items and things that are in landfills these days are able to biodegrade and go back into the earth. That is a new technology that's emerging from Korea. So that is the type of thing that I'm talking about embracing as we start to move in that direction, march in that direction in the short and long term, to be able to replant the earth, replant the seeds of the earth, and start replanting the seeds of the earth in the mindset, in the mind frame, to be able to start rechanneling asset mindsets and rechanneling dividend mindsets, to be able to find the best aspect to be able to start to paint the picture of the global philanthropy energy grid, which has to do with doing the best that we possibly can for all humans in the whole world at all given times, to be able to develop the most collective energy at the best possible, most soonest time possible. Yeah! So with that in mind, as we're all continuing to replant the earth, what we want to try to do collectively is close out this podcast by focusing on how pure everybody in the whole world would become in terms of the food becoming continuously and consistently and consecutively purified, because all eating animal meat is not pure. Eating certain animal meat is not even that good for you necessarily, and certain elements of being able to have population control on animals is an ideal thing to also be able to do to combat the nature of how animals would maybe conceptually overpopulate if there was no animals being killed necessarily for fur, for food, for any of these things, because it's not a necessity, because there's plenty of, in other words, natural resources that we can grow from the nature of the sun by harnessing the sun's energy and other aspects of the energy in the world to be able to spread all this energy to the global philanthropy energy grid so that all humans are able to be able to get smart enough to be able to also plug into the internet and aspects of tools and mentality to be able to focus on a little bit of enlightenment, which is a simple adjustment from where we're at today, to be able to transition into more purified purification for all of the world and the ground underneath the world, to be able to start to develop a new, alongside nature, leverage the natural energy to be able to grow over the past negativity and the past toxicity in the past, to be able to overtake it with just pure, green, clean, organic ingredients in the future, forever going forward, so that we all are able to optimize ourselves in the global philanthropy energy grid as one human energy that's best always optimized by every human being cared for, all 8 billion humans and all 8 trillion animals that are on the planet as well, all the animals on the planet as well, to be able to be looked after at the same frequency as humans are looked after, in this global harmonious harmony. Thanks again for bye Digitech, bye, peace, bye. Digitech, change for games, Digitech, change for games, Digitech and change for games studios, bye, peace, bye.